Interest rates are high and the death of the buyer's broker? We'll get into it right now. Hello, friends, and welcome to this edition of The Review, November 2023. There was a recent ruling for $1.8 billion against the National Association of Realtors and several other brokerages around the U.S. I'll read to you from this article in the New York Times, and then I'll tell you my piece on this. And the title is Home Sellers Win $1.8 billion after a jury finds conspiracy among realtors. The influential National Association of Realtors and several brokerages were ordered to pay damages to home sellers who said they were forced to pay excessive fees to real estate agents. This was published on October 31st. So the article goes as follows. A federal jury ruled on Tuesday that the powerful National Association of Realtors and several large brokerages had conspired to artificially inflate the commission paid to real estate agents, a decision that could radically alter the home buying process in the United States. Now, pay attention, because anything that affects the home buying process is certainly going to affect you as a seller, whether you're trying to sell today or whether you're looking to sell in the near future. Now, let's get into it. It's a decision that has the potential to rewrite the entire structure of the real estate industry in the United States, lowering the cost of moving homes by reducing commissions. You really think so? We'll get into that. So, under the NAR rule, a home seller is required to pay commissions to the agent representing the buyer, which sellers claimed forced them to pay excessive fees to agents. The home seller said that the brokerages collaborated with the NAR to enforce what is called the cooperative compensation rule. And now this is where it gets interesting. But under the verdict, the sellers would no longer be required to pay for their buyer's agents, and agents would be free to set their own commission rates, which could be slashed in half or less. For example, a home seller with a $1 million home can now pay as much as $60,000 in agent commissions or $30,000 to their agent and $30,000 to the buyer's agent. Okay, so I'll try to unpack this as simple as possible. The reason that the seller pays the commission is because the buyers will usually have, on average, 5% of the purchase price in closing costs alone. So now the buyer has 5% in closing costs plus this higher interest rate environment that we're in. And essentially, the reason that the seller will pick that up is because you want to incentivize a buyer's broker. The reason you want to incentivize a buyer's broker is because it maximizes your exposure. 85% of deals currently done are co-broke, 50-50 between seller's agent and buyer's agent. Sure, you have the option if you wanted to cut that commission in half. You're also going to be cutting out half of the other market. So is this really a service to you? Is this really, advantageous? Or does it mean that you shave off 3% from your sales price? It's unclear how this is really supposed to benefit you. I mean, clearly the exposure will certainly decrease if there's no incentive there for buyer's agents. And for the buyer, they're essentially burdened with another cost. So how much affordability does this give the buyer? How much longer is your home going to be on the market if you're the seller? And as the buyer, sure, they have the option to go unrepresented. Great idea, right? Let's go into the lion's den where the seller's agent has the fiduciary responsibility to have the seller's best interest in mind, not always the buyer. And sure, you may be intelligent, you may be super savvy, you're a deal maker in your own right, and you're confident that you can get the best deal for yourself. That does happen. However, the reason that you usually do want agent representation is because we're in this every single day. So we get the inside track on knowing, who is negotiable where, whether it's a new development, whether it's as a brokerage community, we do talk. And that's quite frankly one of the areas of advantage is that we talk as a community and we have an understanding of where there might be some flexibility or where we can save for our buyers. And I can't, just on a personal experience, I can't tell you how many times I've helped my buyers save anywhere between tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands at closing costs, just because I had a tidbit of information that I know that they would never have had. As a buyer's rep, it's invaluable how much I've been able to guide buyers in the past. And going at this very complex process alone, I think it's a disservice for a lot of buyers at the end of the day, asking buyers to now have the burden to add another 2-3% on top of their already pricey barrier to entry. It's a lot to ask for. But that's where we are. This is a national case. How is this affecting you here locally in New York City? It's very simple. So what's happening now is we're part of REBNY here in New York City, a lot of the major brokerages. REBNY is Real Estate Board of New York. And this is now impacting us here locally because now REBNY is taking the initiative and they are going to make an amendment to the UCBA. The UCBA is a Universal Co-Brokerage Agreement. And what this has is it has a set of bylaws that we adhere to, a lot of the major brokerages here in the city, and it really does protect us because we're allowed to represent our sellers and our buyers, and there are certain set of bylaws where we agree to co-broke 50-50. If that were not in place, there have been instances where people have bad behavior, and if they don't need to co-broke anymore, then with this new amendment, it's again, I just have to go back how this is now doing a disservice for both sellers and for buyers. The way that sellers have their own representation, a buyer should be able to have their representation, and it's just the economics of the entire transaction. The buyer already has about 5% of the closing costs, and as a seller, yes, there are co-ops that now have I've seen anywhere between 1 to 3% in flip tax. But if you're in a condo, if you're in a townhouse, it's a different story. It's just a matter of having that level of representation and service. So ultimately, do you think that this will be an added value? Am I missing something? Do you think that this is going to be a plus for you as a seller, as a buyer? I'd love to hear from you. Please shoot me your comments, questions. This is a developing story. Leadership will talk to us agents more about this and will give us a briefing on this. I'm happy to keep you informed as this story continues to develop, and I'll let you know exactly how this is going to impact the local markets as soon as I hear anything on the national level. As far as I know, there is a process of appeal in process right now, but I said process a lot. Seriously, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments, questions, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I'll be including this article in this month's newsletter. As for interest rates, yes, we are now at 8% on average. Yeah, we're there. So, what's happening? I think we need to stay at this level because if we were to go down in interest rates as fast as we went up, there certainly could be a reverse market crash, and nobody wants to see that. So, what does that mean for home prices? What's happening in the market? What's happening with buyers? What's happening with sellers? A lot of people who would have bought have decided to rent because what's happening is monthly expenses pretty much on average doubled. I've even seen in some cases tripled. And what's happening now is that it really just eliminated or it made a lot of buyers want to pause their search. They just can't afford the same places that were at 3% just a few years ago. And now they're renting. As for sellers, this has led to now days on market increasing. A lot of listings and sales that just didn't sell. I've spoken to a number of sellers who have decided to rent because they know that they're not going to get their price. I've seen a lot of price decreases, and now this interest rate increase is putting a lot of downward pressure on pricing. So we're seeing, if you're on the market right now, chances are you're a real seller. That's a great takeaway for buyers right now. They are real sellers. However, this is also impacting our inventory. Inventory is at record lows right now. The contract signs also, I'll be including a lot of this information. You'll see it in the newsletter. You'll see it on the market reports. You'll see a Q3 report and also a national level report. So feel free to share this with your friends. But making sense of this all is, I think that this is just a time where if you do have a real need to sell because you need to grow, you need to get a bigger place for your family or whatever the case is, this is a great time too, because sure, you might take a little bit of a hit on your current sale, but just think of the deal that you'll get on your next place. And if you're buying, this is also a great time. Do not stand still if you have the means. The reason is because interest rates are at 8% right now. Bloomberg has been keeping track of the Fed's dot plot map. I'll also include that article in this month's newsletter. And I've been following it very closely ever since 2021. And if you look at it, they've been on schedule. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not going to make any bold predictions. But if you look at the trajectory of the dot plot map set by the Fed, it looks that by 2024 we can start seeing rate decreases. By 2025, we'll see significant levels of rate decreases. And what I think will happen is, as soon as we get back down towards that 5% level, think about it. There's low inventory, and we have all of this pent-up demand. Prices are where they are right now, but as soon as we see a little bit of relief on the interest rate side, we're going to have a lot of these buyers coming back into the market, pushing the prices up. So the idea is, today's prices, even at today's rates, is going to be a way better deal than if you're looking 2-3 years down the line at tomorrow's prices, even at those lower rates. So, as corny as it sounds, so many people have said this so much, but seriously, you would be much better off in the long run with today's prices and tomorrow's rates. So if you can lock in your price today as a buyer, just think about it this way. If everything follows, if everything goes as it has been with this dot plot map, if history serves us right, then we know that interest rates will come down eventually. And it's just a matter of what is best for you. Today's prices or tomorrow's prices. Happy to have this conversation with you. I'd love to hear more from you in the comments. Please if you have any questions about the buying process, if you'd like to even know the value of your home, and just contact me. If you even got one takeaway from this entire video, that's what this is all about. I'm happy to share as much information as I have with you. Feel free to contact me at any time. Subscribe, share this with a friend. I'm here to give as much value as possible. I'm here for you. Thank you.